Hello and welcome to the Gradcracker webinar with Halo. My name is Sophie, I'm a director at Gradcracker and have been with the business for the last 13 years. I'm also joined by my co-director Jessica, who I'm sure many of you will recognise from previous webinars and the many university presentations she delivers. Halo is one of the UK's fastest growing software companies, building market-leading platforms for clients across the world. So, during today's webinar, our aim is to find out more about Halo, their opportunities and what life is like working there. Starting with Reese, the Graduate Development and Support Leader, will have an introduction to the business and their opportunities. The rest of the panel from Halo will then talk to you about their educational background, their day-to-day roles, what life is like working at Halo and their future plans. Towards the end of the webinar, we'll discuss the recruitment process and give you some hints and tips on how to be successful in securing a role with Halo, including some of the individual experiences of the graduates. We've also had some questions submitted by you, our students, so these have been incorporated throughout the webinar too. Fab. So let's get started. Reese, starting with you, could you tell everybody about Halo?
Course I can. So Halo, as you well put it, makes market-leading software. We are completely privately owned, which means that we believe we're the first ever and the world first thoroughbred unicorn, which means we're the only company with a $1 billion valuation without any private funding. And as a result of that, we're able to run what we believe is the best graduate scheme, in the world. We've got businesses. The businesses that we support are some of the best names are Red Bull, Cambridge, Microsoft, things along those lines, where we provide them a system that they can use to make their business as efficient and as useful as possible.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit more about those systems, because Jess and I were looking on the Halo website earlier, and we thought it'd be really good to kind of get actually an overview of the products themselves.
Yeah, of course. And to be honest, I know a lot of the people that are going to be watching this are going to be looking into kind of applying in the future and so on. And they might think about what I'm about to say and go, oh, that doesn't sound like it's for me. I promise you, I thought the exact same thing at the time where I started. It's not an industry that necessarily someone goes, oh, I'd always want to work in software management. And that's not really the goal of Halo. The goal of Halo is to be a great business to work for. And then what we do becomes almost a passion and an excitement after that. It certainly did for myself. And I've got to say the majority of other people at the team. Now, with regards to what the softwares do, we've got 3 different softwares that are split into an ITSM, a PSA, a CRM product, where ultimately the goal is to be able to support internal IT teams, managed service providers, or MSPs, you can say, for the PSA product, and then customer service teams, where a lot of people will have dealt with a CRM system before, but not necessarily realized it, because ultimately that's any time that you've ever had to return something or use a chatbot or something along those lines. We're the people who make, sell, and consult on the software that does all of that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Reese. And tell us a little bit about your role at Halo and how you kind of work and look after the graduates who join you.
So it's a role that I've been doing for around a year and a half, coming up to 2 years now. And ultimately, my goal is to be the first happy face that you see as you walk through the door, and to run you through basically everything there is to know about Halo. We don't expect people to come in with a wealth of knowledge about the industry. We don't expect people to come in with 3 years of experience on a graduate scheme or whatever else it is. We expect people to come in that just want to learn. And that's my job, is to teach everything that there is to know, be it how to kind of put together Halo as a system, how to support it, how to fix it, how to handle errors, and then furthermore, how to do some of the more technical stuff and how to use SQL and so on and so forth as well. So effectively, that's my role, to take you from knowing not very much to as much as you need to know to be able to be massively successful here.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And you are currently recruiting for your graduate scheme for 2026. So tell us all about the opportunity.
So for 2026, we are looking to hire, I believe it's around 80 graduates this year, with the goal to hopefully getting that to over 1,000 graduates in the next 8 to 10 years, something along those lines. Very much depends on how many people we get to apply. So yeah, apply if you'd like to. And then with regards to that, the opportunity is all the exact same. There's no preconception of understanding what people want to know, how they like we don't expect people to know what they want to do before they come to us. It's the same entry point for everyone. It is just one graduate scheme. That's all we do. And then you all learn the exact same thing in a cohort of usually 7 others in a group of 8. And we take you from, as I say, not knowing an awful lot down to knowing everything there is to know, when you can decide where it is that you suit best in the business after that. We're growing at such a rate, honestly, that it is that anyone that wants to do something here does have the opportunity to do it, because we've got so many opportunities for growth here because of how quickly we're growing.
Amazing. Sounds like a really, really exciting time to join the team. And I'm sure Lucy, Joe, and Mallory will tell us a bit more about that excitingness when we get to them. But all graduates who join you start an initial rotation in your support team, don't they?
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about what they do there, and then what opportunities are available following that initial stint.
Yeah, so ultimately, when you come in first, you get greeted with me, unfortunately for some of the graduates, and as a part of that, they then go through the training scheme and then go onto the support desk, as you rightly said. From that, effectively, what you're doing is that you're answering calls from our current customers, and you're answering tickets that have been put in, so any emailed in issues and so on and so forth, where we use it very much as a training exercise for people to be able to get even better at understanding the product, because ultimately, if you can fix something, you understand how it's meant to work, and that's really the goal. So past that, you're in the graduate in the graduate support team for a rough amount of time, anywhere between 3 to 6, maybe 9 months, something along those lines, depending on how long it takes you as an individual to effectively pick up what there is to know. And a lot of that is really attributed to hard work and how much people want to move on, because when you do move on, the opportunities are in the business are in consultancy, sales, in partnership work, and there's opportunities for worldwide travel. We're looking to open offices across Europe and effectively across the world. There's only English speaking stops on the Halo World Domination Tour so far. So the goal is to get that further into Europe and further into the world. So ultimately, in a lot of our competitors, there are whole departments of people that we have not even created yet, that there's not even one person doing the job of what 50 others would do at some of our other competitors. So if there's something that you want to do and there's something that you think will be a massive help to the business and whatever else it is, we really do encourage the initiative for people just to go and do it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Reese. And before we jumped on the call, actually, we were talking about the fact that all of your new hires come in at kind of graduate level, don't they?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Reese. So we're going to hear more from you towards the end of the webinar to discuss the recruitment process. But now we are going to head over to meet our graduates. So we are joined by Mallory, Lucy, and Joe, all of you who found their roles on Gradcracker. So over to you, Jess.
Thank you, Sophie, and thanks, Reese, for the introduction. Okay, so Mallory, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. So can you, give us a brief overview about yourself, where you went to university and what you studied?
Yeah, of course. I went to university at the University of Leeds, studied business management there. So a bit of a mix of like sort of finance, accounting, economics, stuff like that. As you can tell, like not massively tied to software at first. So yeah, I've been here for about 4 months now.
Yep.
And I'm currently working in the consultancy team as a technical consultant.
Fantastic. And are you enjoying it?
Yeah, absolutely loving it. Not just saying that. It's one of the things I was crazy to me is actually I'm enjoying coming into work, which I didn't think would be the case.
Yeah. So where's your office based?
It's in Stowmarket, which is
Stowmarket.
sort of
You're all in Stowmarket, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where is Stowmarket? Suffolk, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 11 miles north of Ipswich.
Okay, it's a good location. Got London on your doorstep. Did you have to relocate for that?
No, I was fairly local to the area.
Oh, was you?
One of my first introductions to Ada was like driving past the office. So yeah, fairly local, so I didn't have to relocate.
I had an idea of who they were and what they did.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Mallory, for the introduction. Okay, Lisa, I'm going to come to you if that's okay. Similar questions. So where did you go to university? What did you study? And how long have you been at Halo?
So I went to Loughborough University. I studied maths. So I did a bit like Mallory, a little bit of finance, kind of a bit of stats, obviously a lot of pure maths. So nothing too software related either. And I expected to be a lot better at coding than I actually am, which is one thing.
Okay, good.
But yeah, and then I started at Halo in September. So I've only been here just over a couple of months and I'm a support technician.
And how's your coding now?
It's
Getting
pretty
there.
good. It's better than it was to start with. No, it is better. It is 100% better.
So yeah, Lucy, if you don't mind me asking that question then. So it's obviously studying maths
Mhm.
and why Halo then for you? You know, because there could have been so many different industries that you could have gone into with a maths degree.
Yeah, I think studying maths, it's so broad that you do have so many options that it is so overwhelming. And like Mallory, I'm local to the area as well. I hadn't, not quite so local that I drove past it, but local enough that I'd seen it all over the Ipswich shirts. So I
Okay.
knew of Halo. And I think looking at it kind of just as a company from a proper outsider perspective, like it just looked like such a cool company to work with. Cool's a very
Yeah.
odd word to use for a company, but like when you're looking at it as someone who has no idea about software or about what the company does, like it does just look so appealing from
Yeah.
someone just looking into it with no prior knowledge of it, I guess.
Lucy, well, obviously the research that I've done prior to the webinar and knowing you guys from being how long you've been on Gradcracker for and looking at the company hub, I've said that to Sophie, you guys do look like you've got a cool setup. Like the offices look great. It
We've got a
looks like
slide.
it's like really relaxed, good fun. You get the work done, but you work hard and play hard, which is kind of
Of
the
course.
vibe I get from you guys, which is, you know, will be appealing to a lot of students. So Joe, I'm going to come to you. Again, similar questions if that's okay. Tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So originally I went to the University of York and I studied physics. So kind of software related. I did at points in my degree use lots of different software and do lots of coding.
Yeah.
So it's obviously helpful when I applied. I've been at Halo same amount of time as Lucy, so a couple of months now. And I currently work as a support technician as well.
Brilliant. So yeah, how have the couple of months been for you? Do you feel like you're settled in now? You're enjoying it?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's a bit of a steep learning curve when I first got here, but sort of as Reese was saying, the sort of the training you get as you work on the support desk is fantastic, and I sort of now feel like I'm really sort of starting to get into the role, and actually I know a little bit about Halo, which is a great feeling.
That's good. Yeah. No, I can't wait to find out more. So Mallory, I'm going to come back to you if that's okay. So can you tell us a bit about your role as a software consultant, and again the key projects and things that you've been involved in so far?
Yeah, so as a software consultant, I'm working with the companies that have bought Halo, and they now need the system sort of to be adjusted and tailored to their needs. So some projects I'm currently working on are with 3 NHS trusts. So that's Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Trust, King's College Hospital NHS Trust, and Lewisham and Greenwich. So that's quite a big one. So I've spent a lot of time building out a lot of their customized processes and sort of common requests that they'll get from their users. There's a lot of workflow and automation behind them. So it's been great to actually build something out from the start and see it work. And for such a massive like group of organizations as well. I also recently went on a site visit to King's College Hospital to deliver some admin training for them. So it's an example of, although a bit more local, one of the opportunities you'll get to sort of move about and do work outside of the office as well.
I suppose that's quite a good point, actually, what you've mentioned there. And I maybe didn't think of this before, but you've got so many different audiences, haven't you? You know, your clients are going to be, you know, like if you've mentioned some of them Reith already, so from the NHS all the way right through to Formula One. That must be was that an appeal for you initially about Halo and what they do? The idea of that you're going to get such a span of projects, people you're going to be working with, it's going to be different quite often, the projects that you're going to be working on, things that are going to come in through.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the cases with our ITSM products. I'm working on a team project like that. But then I'm also working with a small software company, just my own project that I've got complete ownership of. And they provide sort of software solutions for hospitals. So I'm building out their entire support desk essentially. Yeah, so it's projects like that, small operations with maybe up to 10 people, all the way up to the NHS who will have maybe like 1,000 agents working on the other side of the system. Yeah.
Mallory, so you've been there since July. It sounds as though you've got a lot of responsibility already, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously, obviously Reese and everyone else trust you and, know that you can do it. But how are you finding that balance of, being a recent graduate, taking on these responsibilities, taking on these projects, and be able to time manage it all?
I mean, it's tough at times. Like I'm busy, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Work I'm doing feels like it's having an impact, and I'm really taking proper ownership over something. So I'm not just doing one part of a massive process. Sometimes I'm taking ownership over a whole client sort of solution, which is great. So yeah, I mean, at times, yeah, I felt, oh my God, I've got so much to do. But yeah, as I say, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love to be busy, and
Yeah.
it's so much more rewarding than having maybe a less intense, less job with like less responsibility, for example.
Yeah, know what I mean. And
Yeah.
how, that project that you said that you're working on solely, how do you pick up those projects then? How do you get designated those roles to look after?
So at the start, when you move into consultancy, you'll get assigned maybe a smaller project by the consultancy lead, and you'll get supported. For example, if you want it, there's a whole room full of consultants here that have so much knowledge. So if you need to ask the question, anyone's willing to help you out, but it is your project.
Yeah.
And then say if you were successful with that one, next time you might get a little bit of a bigger one, and then a bigger one until you work up and you're sort of the lead consultant for someone like one of those NHS trusts I was talking about. So it's all about you build almost like your reputation up as a consultant, and you'll just keep going and going as long as you keep having successful implementations with clients.
Yeah, and getting that good feedback, which I'm assume you're getting, which is great. So no, thank you
Jess,
very much. Yeah.
sorry, I was just going to jump in here because I was just wondering how that process worked from starting in support, and then you've obviously gone into software consultancy. How did that work? Did you say that's where I want to go, or was it, they saw that actually that's where we think your skills will fit, or how did that process work?
Well, I think the consultancy teams are the biggest sort of, I'd say a lot of people from support go into consultancy, but you do have the ultimate choice. We've got documentation teams, quality assurance teams, but for me, for example, I want to get to sales eventually, and the sort of pathway to there is to go into consultancy, become an absolute expert at the product, and then once you know so much about it, the idea is that you'll be trusted to sell it to people. So yeah, that was why I chose to go that way, and ITSM over sort of maybe PSA because I wanted to work with the big, like more recognizable names. PSA tends to be smaller companies, so that was my reasoning behind going that way.
Great, thank you. And just for everyone's knowledge, ITSM and PSA stand for
IT service management, or sometimes referred to as enterprise service management. So it's a solution for maybe a company that is serving its own employees with maybe IT requests, HR requests, finance requests, whereas a PSA solution is a company that handles IT requests, sort of IT, sort of manages IT for multiple companies.
Okay.
So not all companies will be big enough to have their own sort of IT teams, so they'll outsource it to these PSA companies who will handle it for them. Yeah, so the platforms are just slightly different.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mallory. Sorry to put you on the spot there. Over to you, Jess.
No, that was good. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that as well, Soph. Sometimes it is easy to nod along and go, actually, no, what does that mean?
People watching are probably thinking, oh, why did she ask that question? It's so obvious, but it wasn't to me.
I promise you they won't be.
Okay.
Lucy, I'm going to come to you as well. So you recently joined Halo, and it'd be good to hear about your experiences over the last couple of months, and how you found the kind of induction and settling in, and how you found that experience and what you've been up to so far.
Yeah, so kind of like what Reese and Mallory have both said. So you come into Halo as, a graduate, you're potentially fresh out of uni this year, previous year, and for a lot of us, it's like our first proper job. So you're quite, you are quite nervous. But
Yeah, of
Reese is
course.
the first person you see when you come in when you walk through the door. And you have 3 weeks of training with him and a couple of the other guys that are on the graduate development team. So they're the ones that you kind of get your training from to do with the software, or just like, other little introductions to sales consultancy, like where Mallory is. But the 3 weeks of training with Reese is basically an orientation to the software. So you can't learn everything in 3 weeks. That's not realistic, but you get to grips with what the software does. You kind of see its potential. You kind of just understand it for you as well, to know what you're doing with it. And then you move on to sport, like where me and Joe are, where you're answering people's questions, like users of Halo's problems, or just, general questions. If they've got, something's wrong color and they want it changed, then they'll ring you and you get to solve that for them. But even though they seem like silly questions, it all helps you because you get to understand the software better, and you get to talk to people, you get to, it's so rewarding getting to like understand and help them answer their questions, especially if it's, to them the color blue is really offensive and they want it done immediately. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very like satisfying to be able to help someone that has that sort of problem.
Yeah. And how would you find that customer kind of facing side of your role? Do you enjoy that? Because again, or do you find that were you a bit nervous because obviously you're still learning the product, still learning how to get your head around it yourself, then to try and ask and answer questions from clients? Did you find that bit hard? Because for some, I can imagine that's a bit nerve-wracking to try
Yeah,
and juggle that.
100%. I worked in a customer facing role for a few years when I was a bit younger prior to
Okay.
uni. So I had a little bit of kind of experience of talking to people in that sort of way. But obviously, I didn't know Halo before I started. I wouldn't have been able to answer any questions on it. But you're so supported in this role. You're supported in any role, obviously, but especially when you're new, when you start, you can ask anyone for help. Like it's not just oh, they're higher up than me because they've been here for 2 months, so I can't possibly ask them. That isn't how it works. So talking to people can obviously be nerve-wracking, like when you've got to answer the phone, but you're never doing it alone, if you like. You never should feel worried or nervous to, because there's always someone you can ask if you don't know, and you're not expected to know everything, obviously, but you do realize that just day on day how much more you know and how much more you've actually learned, even in training from the week 1 to week 2 to week 3. You pick up so much, and obviously that is amplified by being on support when you're just answering people's questions all day. So it's never just you answering a question, even though it may feel like that.
How would you find that? Because it is, you join them, when people join in, when we've seen it before, when we get new people that join Gradcracker, for example, the first few weeks you're exhausted at you because you're taking on so much information. So how have you found that as well? Taking on that information, holding it, keeping it in. Did you get much support, making sure that you do remember everything you've been told?
Yeah. So in training, I found it very helpful to take notes a lot of, like when Reese was going through certain things, or even just like certain tickets that come in and I'm think, oh, I should probably note that down maybe. And you do retain so much more of it than you almost think you would. Like you kind of just remember where certain things are. You remember, oh, I had something like that last week. Let me just go and check, because the good thing is you can check previous tickets. So if someone's had a problem similar to yours, you can go and find one and you can always ask them for help. You can potentially, from the past ticket, you can see and go, oh, it's similar. So it's very good how supported you are so early on, and how, even though it is a lot, like Mallory said, like you are busy, it is a lot of work, but it's not overwhelming, because you never feel too overwhelmed because of how many people you have around you that can help you, and also just how much better you get in those 3 weeks than in those first 2, 3, 4 months on support. You like, and if you don't pick it up within a week, it like no one's going to tell you off for it as such. You don't feel managed, you feel supported, which I think people don't realize how great that actually is to feel in a job, as opposed to constantly being told you need to do this, you need to do this. Like you just feel pushed to do as well as you can.
Yeah, I like that line. You don't feel managed, you feel supported.
Love it.
Reese, we need to get that on your hub.
Yeah, I did think
Write that down.
Yeah.
And Joe, I'm going to come to you. You when we've been doing our prep calls and things like that, we've talked a lot about, kind of the culture of Halo and how you've been so impressed by it and how, that was one thing that kind of stood out to you. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that and why that was maybe such a turn on for you to say, actually, no, I want to commit to Halo. I could see my graduate future there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lucy and Mallory covered it pretty well in terms of like the support here is absolutely astonishing. Like having
Mhm.
worked in like different areas in the past, it's incredible how like unique Halo is and that you can just ask anyone absolutely anything. Like as an example, I had a question about a ticket earlier and Tim, one of our directors, was sitting about 2 seats away from me. So I just went up to him and asked him.
Oh,
And
did
it's
you?
fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, you just have that support there to ask anyone everything. And I think it's that culture at Halo which pushes us to the next level, really, because
Yeah.
everyone's in it together. I think everyone understands that we're all graduates here. We all started from somewhere. I think it just sort of blew me away when I first got it. Really quickly became apparent in like probably the first couple of weeks that this place is different. Like, doesn't quite have that typical corporate atmosphere you'd expect from a company like this. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that really makes it worthwhile working here, at least from my perspective.
And Joe, just again, I'm going to do a Sophie, which is the right thing to do for anyone that doesn't know what is a ticket, because Lucy, you mentioned the word ticket as well.
So it's literally just a request for help. So whether they
Okay.
email in or phone in or anything like
That's from
that,
a
it's
client then that said, we've got an issue
yeah.
or we need help with something.
Yeah, so any customer, if they have an issue with any of their instances, what they can do is email, phone, just sort of general methods of generating a ticket. So in our Halo system, this generates the ticket or the request for help, and then we just basically email back or phone back with, resolutions to their different issues, or if we need more information, it's just basically liaising with them to fix their issues via this request for help.
I
And
see.
are you physically actually doing the fixes, Joe, or does that go to a different team, or do you actually learn how to fix the issues?
So it really depends on what the issue is, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Sort of small fixes we can just do ourselves. Generally, it's best practice to obviously ask the customer what
Mhm.
they would like. I can say, I can fix this for you if you'd like. Obviously, some customers are a little bit more stingy with what they'd like us to do within their instances. Generally,
Mhm.
if they're big fixes, they do get sent over to other departments. Mallory's a consultant. If it's generally a large issue, it will go over to consultancy. However, small issues, we generally do handle a lot ourselves
Yeah,
in support. So it's
that's
sort of
great.
dependent.
And do
So
you work across all areas of the software as well? So ITSM, PSA, and CRM, or do you sit in a support desk for one particular product?
So what happens is briefs will split the kind of tickets you get week on week. So this week
Mhm.
I've been working on PSA tickets
Mhm.
specifically, and then next week I'll work on ITSM. Our other
Mhm.
model, the CRM tickets, are sort of few and far in between. So they just
Mhm.
sort of get sprinkled in for everyone. But
Yeah,
you'll get a week PSA, a week ITSM, and then that's just sort of recurring
yeah,
through the weeks as you sort of go through. It's sort of basically such that on one week you'll obviously get experience completely with one section of the product. And obviously the next will sort of break up like the type of tickets you're getting, because ITSM is sort of technical component of the Halo product, whereas
Mhm.
PSA tends to be more to do with finance and billing,
Yeah,
and sort of breaks up what you're doing week by week.
yeah. Fab.
Hmm.
Sorry, that was just me being nosy.
Interesting.
Jess, go on.
Yeah, no, it's good. Good question, Soph. And thank you, Joe, for that. Mallory, I'm going to come back to you. We kind of touched a little bit about your career progression and where you can see yourself going. Something I wanted to ask you earlier, actually, you've mentioned the word sales, and for some, take yourself back a year ago, being a graduate at university, the thought of maybe saying to sales to some people would put them off and say, no, I'm not a salesperson. I couldn't think of anything worse than selling. But where you are now and having that appeal and that drive that maybe that's the kind of route that you do want to go down. Was you like that before? Did you ever think sales would be an option? Would you think that that is a route that you did want to go down in the future?
Yeah, I had applied to sales-based roles while I was looking for grad jobs.
Okay.
Wasn't my number one choice or anything like that. Just something I would have been interested in.
Mhm.
But I think here I think I'm more interested in that because you're not really having to go out, and it's not like cold calling people or
Yeah.
like contacting other people, because people, as I said, the product's growing so fast, people coming to us saying like, we want to buy Halo, can you show us the product? And that's what the sales team do, is they are demoing the product to people to prove that it can do what they want it to do.
Yeah.
So a lot of people ask for things like proof of concepts where they'll be like, oh, can Halo do this? And then the sales team might go and build it out and then demonstrate that to them to show them that before they buy it, this can do everything you need it to do.
Yeah,
So I like the idea of that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that that was your experience, because I think this is, I suppose, where I'm kind of pointing this question at is because, and again, I try and say this every week on these webinars, is because when I speak to students, sometimes they're doing a degree and I think this is the only direction I can take my degree in, and I've just seen it on these webinars so many times, Mallory, where I'm speaking to someone like you, you're doing something now amazing with your degree, taking it in a completely different avenue. And then the students say to me, I didn't realise I could be doing this. Didn't realise this is where I could really progress my career. And and I just, wanted you to kind of make that point, which you did. But it was interesting that you're already kind of interested in sales as well, because for some, sales is a scary word.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's slightly different here to what people sort of think a sales job might be.
Yeah, it's not that cold calling.
No.
Hitting
No.
those. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's a bit like you, Surf.
I knew
Not
you were going to
doing
bring
cold
me into
calling.
it. No.
Employees come back to us saying we want to renew on Gradcracker. Perfect. So thank you for that, Mallory. Joe, I'm going to come back to you as well, because like Lucy, you are currently working in support. So where are you hoping to go next?
Great question. I think there's a couple of different avenues that I was sort of personally looking into. I think Mal said he's an ITSM consultant, and I was pretty interested in being an ITSM consultant myself. One of the things I really enjoy about being a support technician is like the amount of people you get to talk to just on calls and things. 1 week I'll be talking with someone from Germany, and then the next hour I'll be talking with someone from South Africa, and it's really interesting to me that I get to talk to these different people and handle their issues. And with consultancy, I'll be working on projects with people from all over the world. At the same time, I was also slightly interested in our partnership team. So obviously Halo has partners where we may give work to just to sort of balance the workload and things like that. And I think working with them might be quite interesting as well, because it can be quite technical as well. But I think for me, at the end of the day, it'll be consultancy.
Yeah. What about you, Lucy? Do you know where you would want to go next?
In my ideal world, I would like to kind of, Reese is smiling at me because I've spoken to Reese. I quite like to go to the graduate development team and kind of help the people, like all the people looking at the calls, hopefully, that are, wanting to join Halo and want to kind of train them up, in the sense of I like helping people solve their problems, like the tickets and everything. But then I also like answering people's questions here as well. Like if any of my colleagues have a question or whatever, I like being someone that they feel like they can ask a question to as well, not just clients and users and people of Halo like that.
Yeah. Reese, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Feel free.
But again, something that we were talking about last week, and a few students after my presentations asked me these questions, and one of them was, what kind of transferable skills do employers like to see? So again, hearing from Mallory, Lucy and Joe, you can kind of see a bit of a trend. Obviously, great communicators, they want to learn more, they're out there. So what would you say that you look for? If you could have those kind of 3 transferable skills that you like to see on an application, what would it be?
I don't know if I can do 3. Ultimately, what we realistically look for is motivation and passion. Like that realistically is it. We want people that are really like kind of mature, quite serious about wanting to do well, and then being able to kind of see that from a growth mindset perspective. Passion for this job and wanting to do it is so much more important than being able to do it. Where so many people get that the wrong way around in hiring, and people that in other companies that are in my position that are doing the hiring often just look straight up at grades and statistics and things along those lines. But ultimately, you can make any graph, make any story you'd like it to make. It's why, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this later down the line with the application process, but it's why our application process is so human, is because it doesn't necessarily matter about like whole grades and internships and prior things and so on and so forth. What matters way more for us is yourself as an individual and whether or not you'd fit into the culture here. But the hope is, even from just speaking to myself, Mallory, Joe, Lucy, like we're all relatively similarly placed in that sort of mindset.
Yeah, perfect. No, that's great. And Lucy, going to come back to you slightly. You mentioned that you'd had previous kind of work experience before. Did you put that obviously quite clearly in your application? Did you show off about that?
Well, I mean, I worked at an ice cream shop, so I wasn't
Great,
exactly like,
perfect. Great example.
here we are.
Yeah.
But no, Reese asked me a little bit in my interview, because obviously it's not, I started it when I was 16, and it's obviously a bit like, oh, it's an ice cream shop down at the seafront. But,
Yeah.
I think a job like that shows that you're willing to work hard, not necessarily about money. Like, it doesn't, money is good, like, obviously, but, to have that sort of experience and want to, work, I guess, from a young age and kind of get those skills, they're not looked over at all. Like, if you have that experience, Reese isn't going to disregard that as such, but it helps, I think, to show that, you've wanted to put the effort in earlier as well. Like, you've almost done it on your own accord as well.
Yeah, to jump into that as well, it's something that Jess, you asked previously about like what we look for and things along those lines. So many CVs that we get come through have omitted that type of work history in favour of projects that they've completed and internships and so on and so forth. But although that is commendable, and I completely appreciate why people would put that on there, the sort of thing that we look for more specifically are sort of like graft and part-time jobs. Anything that you'd look at and go, oh yeah, well done for doing that for so long. It's like why I was so interested in Lucy working in an ice cream shop during her interview is because she'd done it for like 5 years and
7 years.
7 years. There you go. Had done it for 7 years and had never like faltered and so on and so forth. Aside from, and working in an ice cream shop for that long, there's going to be some stories that I'm not at liberty to say, but
I want to hear those now.
We've always got time for those. I think we haven't got time for that.
But it's that sort of work that does kind of show the character of an individual instead. It is the truth of that anyone can apply for as many internships as they like and get one and work and shadow someone for a bit, but consistent, hard, like graft, I suppose, is so much more valuable to us as an employer than what a lot of people will kind of expect, I think, based on the CVs that I generally screen.
Yeah. Joe, did you mention any previous work experience or anything in your application?
Yeah, so on my CV, I had a long history of work experience. I worked at Asda for
Brilliant.
just under 6 years, I think. So from when I was 16 to pretty much when I finished university. So I guess that fits the trend of graft. I got some pretty terrible stories of working at Asda as well. Fits the trend as well.
It's all character building. It's great experiences to have. Again, speaking to customers, communication skills, commitment. You're doing something outside a full-time degree course. So yeah, I'm just so glad, and that's why I wanted to kind of. Because Mallory, we will come to you and ask you a little bit later on about your initial application and what you put in it. But it's really important, for any student listening. And Reece, you said it right at the beginning. You're not looking for someone with a CV full of industrial experience already. You know that these are new grads coming through. Again, whether it's working at Asda or working in an ice cream shop, great things to mention. Lucy, I'm going to come back to you as well because I want to talk about the fun stuff because again, something that, as I mentioned earlier, me and Soph said a lot, from our prep sessions with you guys, it just seems like, and when you say fun and cool, it's not actually fun and cool to say those words out loud, is it? But you know what I mean? It does sound like a really trendy, cool place for you guys to work. So yeah, tell us a bit about the social aspect of working at Halo and what we've been up to so far.
Yeah, so I'd definitely say at Halo, it's actively promoted to be a social place. Obviously, no one forces you to get involved, but you want to. You don't feel pressured to as such. And so you have netball on a Tuesday, you have football on a Friday, you have tennis on a Wednesday, there's yoga classes on a Monday. They're all kind of sport activities that different people from all different departments, so consultants, sales, support, everyone gets involved in. We have pub quizzes every month on the first Thursday. Correct me if I'm wrong, Reece. I'm pretty sure it's Thursday.
Got to be Thursday. We've run out of days otherwise.
True. So yeah, so we have those. The one on Thursday. Just putting that out there. So all very fun. And yeah, we have Sweet Treat Tuesdays at the end of the month, or slightly at the beginning of the month, depending on when it falls. So it's everyone just talks to everyone, which is just so nice, especially when you're new. Like, I definitely felt when I started at Halo, I didn't feel like a newbie. Like, you feel part of like the Halo family straight away, because you get involved in all these socials. You know, they're not like 6 hours until like 2 a.m. Like, it's just having a chat or playing pool in the bar, or, you know, winning the pub quiz. It's all, there's something kind of for everyone to get involved in as such, that means you get to meet so many people. And while you're in training with Reese for 3 weeks, you'll come out and shadow like us on support, so you can just meet the people that you'll kind of follow as such when you then move on to support as well, which is quite nice, because you know, whether it's that you want to ask them a question or just to get to know them, because kind of like what Reese said, again, you start with 8 people, or 7 included and plus yourself, but you know, there's so many more people in the company to meet, and you end up sitting with like 30 of them. So just getting to know them then as well, regardless of all like the fun social activities we have as well, like that also makes a big difference as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And then Lucy, you know, it's kind of similar to what Joe said, because you said, Joe, that, you know, you asked someone, it was the director, 2 seats down from you, about a ticket. You know, again, you all kind of get that exposure with everyone then, don't you? Which is nice. So is it like kind of flexible seats as well then? So do you not have,
Yeah, we don't have designated seats as such. Most people will sit in similar places just because, you know, we're all creatures of habit, but you can go and sit anywhere. I sit right next to Tim. Reese sits about 2 seats behind me. I've got, you know, you're surrounded by people. I've got someone that only started a month ago sat to my right. So you are just surrounded by people of different abilities, rather than your manager and your boss. Like, that's it's ability rather than boss, I feel like, which is so nice when you're new, especially if you've only been here like a month and you're trying to understand the software, and you've got all these people around you that just know so much about it and are so happy for you to ask them questions as well. Like, you never feel stupid for asking a question. Like, there are no stupid questions.
Yeah, and that is a bit of a line that people say, that there was no stupid questions, but you genuine actually feel.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Joe, did you want to add to that?
Sorry?
Did you want to add to that?
I think Lucy covered it pretty
No,
well,
that's
to be
fine.
honest
I
with
thought you were
but
going to say something, that was all. So I'm going to hand back to you. So we're going to find out in a bit more detail about the application process, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jess. Thank you, Lucy, Mallory, and Joe. That was a brilliant overview of what you've been up to so far. And I think gives a really, really great introduction to the students watching about what they would experience in those first few weeks and months. I feel like I know that it would just be so nice to walk in the door, and, you know, you feel like you'd be so supported and looked after. And obviously you guys will be there to help new people coming through now. So that's nice to know. But yes, Reese, I'm coming back to you now, and we're going to talk about the application process, because as you've mentioned, you really do want to keep it a very human process. So yeah, the students go on to Gradcracker, they see your graduate scheme advertised on the company hub, they click apply now. What happens next?
So after they go through the company hub on Gradcracker, they then get to their application process, which is as simple as, what's your name? Can you pop in your CV? So if they then send that in, it goes to me. Now, the common things in application reviews, graduates trying to apply for jobs at the moment, never hearing back, AI processes, tests where they give you an horrible option and then a slightly less horrible option, make you pick which is the worst. Things along those lines. It just doesn't happen here. It is me on the other end of the screen reviewing through some CVs and seeing who it is that I think, from an original perspective, is going to be worth taking a look at, to be able to see whether or not you fit into the culture here. From there, it goes on to a 10-minute screening call with Tim, one of the directors that Joe and Lucy have been referencing so far. And he does about 6-10 minute calls a day and so on at the moment. He's definitely got a skill for it. And people often come out thinking it was quite strange because they don't actually talk about a lot of tangible stuff. But but then after that, provided that's successful, it comes through to an interview in person in the office with myself, someone from support, and then someone else with a little bit more interview experience. So that way we get a nice mix of everyone in the business that we can talk through and then decide whether or not you're a great fit for Halo or not.
Simple as.
Easy as that. I've had people that have applied on Monday and got the job by Friday.
Fantastic. So that'll be really, really refreshing for a lot of our students watching today,
That's the
that they
hope, for
know,
sure.
that they, once they've put that application in, they're not going to be waiting for, potentially up to 2-3 months to kind of finish the process. It could be really quick.
Sorry, yeah, I think part of the joy of it is because we're all graduates. Like Halo only hires graduates across the entire business because we're all graduates. I'm sitting there. I've only been working at Halo for just over 4 years myself. I remember applying for all these jobs and not wanting to do all of that. So now that I've got the creative freedom to make sure that doesn't happen, cool, I can.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry.
No, that's brilliant, and I think it's really great that it's so clear to the students how easy that process is going to be as well. So kind of the next question then that's also been asked by Jason at Glasgow University is, and I know you covered some of these when Jess asked you, but what are you looking for in those initial applications? And you've mentioned a few things, but give us kind of your full overview of what the students should be doing.
We want people that want the job, and that sounds insane. However,
Yeah.
there are so many people that we'll come across that are effectively just throwing in an application. We've had people that have got the job simply just by walking through the door and coming handing us the CV, because it's a case of, oh, you must clearly want this job. You are, and ultimately, and again, the hope is that it shows through from us all, is that people that are elite communicators, talkative, like sociable people, that ultimately want to do really well for themselves. I love part-time work experience. I care way less for internships and project work and so on and so forth. That's something that, although valuable and I do appreciate, it's not something that necessarily weighs too much from my perspective. So people that have kind of shown almost a level of maturity and a level of kind of ambition, I suppose, because ultimately that's the only thing that ever holds anyone back at Halo. It's not space in the company. It's not what you can do. It's not how you can get anywhere. What holds you back is how much you want to do well. And it's a very commonly used like phrase of, oh, how much do you want it, and so on and so forth, which generally I massively disagree with, other than in this really specific scenario. Whereas it is honestly a case of, if you really want the job, and you really want the job, and you are a great communicator, and you're a problem solver, and you're someone who has done all the research that is needed to kind of understand what it is that you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing it, and so on and so forth. They're the sort of things that will impress an interview panel here at Halo, to whatever level necessary.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And I think that's going to be really helpful for everyone watching about what they need to kind of be putting in there. And just going back to what you were saying about the call with directors, because you said, it can be a bit strange, that 10 minutes, you might not talk about anything particularly tangible. Give us a flavour as to what you're trying to kind of get out of those interviews, those sort of 10-minute calls.
A lot of the people that we have that apply to us are massively like intelligent and fantastically book smart and so on and so forth. And a really common misconception with Halo is that because we're a software company, we're expecting everyone to be like elite coders and so on and so forth. And actually, that's not the case at all. There's less than 10% of people in the business that are like full-time developers. Ultimately, what we need is people who can teach technical skills to, that have got the interpersonal skills. And that's ultimately what we're looking for, is people that will come across bubbly, chatty, people that we can, and you can say Mallory is a great example of this. As someone who's been here a touch over or touch under 4 months, depending on my maths. Then someone who's been here for around 4 months, that we're able to put in front of clients like the NHS and be completely entrusting that it's going to go fantastically. And that we can't teach that, but we can teach the technical skills, and we can teach that in a really short amount of time. So ultimately, that's moreover what we're looking for in that like 10-minute call, is just someone that will come in, have a chat with us, and leave kind of an impression, I suppose, because that's ultimately we want for the business and for our clients. And ultimately, if you can't sell yourself, then you're not going to be able to sell or set up Halo, right? So that's ultimately the goal.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you very much. I think quite often when you talk about sort of short interviews or telephone interviews, people are thinking, oh, they're going to go through my CV, or they're going to go through technical questions or whatever. And, that's not the case. You're really looking for cultural fit here at Halo, aren't you?
Exactly. I remember I did my 10-minute call, and I had a list, like an arm long. like I was applying during COVID. I had like no applications
Yeah.
come back to me, and I had a list like an arm long of everything that I wanted to ask. And if they asked me this, I'd say this, and do this, and say this. And it was just a call with the owner of the business. It was just saying, why do you want to apply? And I said, oh, all this, and it was like, cool, all right, I'll see you a couple of days for an interview. I was like, is that it? Is that it? I was like, oh, that was easy. I should have done this more often. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
brilliant. Yeah. Fab. Okay, we are going to hear about Joe's particular sort of insight into the directors call in a little bit, but I am going to move across to Lucy, Mallory, and Joe now to hear about their kind of experiences of going through this process, because they've all gone through this relatively recently. Not that you haven't, Reese, but these guys are even fresher.
Oh no, I feel like a grandfather here.
Bless you. So Mallory, thinking about that initial application, when you kind of saw Halo, you were looking at them on Gradcracker, and then you decided to put your application in, or put your CV in. What kind of things did you do to kind of prepare that, or was it just, okay, here's my CV, this is what I've done, or did you tweak it? Tell us about how that worked.
Yeah, so that initial application is, as Reece says, sort of like name and CV. So yeah, I looked at their company hub on Gradcracker and just sort of saw I could pick out any bits on there that I thought would apply to my experiences and my hobbies and achievements, and sort of tweak that wording in my CV for how it could relate to the culture at Halo and how that would make me fit there. So yeah, I did my research, tweaked my CV, and that was all that it was for the initial process. But yeah, more prep for the second and third ones. Yeah.
And so what prep did you do for the second two interviews then, Mallory?
So for the second one, like Reese, I made like a massive PowerPoint presentation I could reference on all the different products, how I'd fit into the culture, my different work experiences. I didn't actually present it, but I just had it in front of me for like reference, so I could sort of go through different parts quite quickly. And then yeah, it was I think I was on the call for maybe 2 minutes. The director always asked me, so tell me a bit about yourself, like what you're doing. Spoke for a little bit, and he was like, right, cool, and then that was it. And I thought, oh, that's gone terribly. But no, then I got an email to book an interview. But so it's literally like me and my mate's joke here. It's like a vibe check. Check that we all sort of like that you will be a good fit here. Yeah. So.
And Mallory,
Yeah.
you're a part-time recruiter now for Halo, aren't you?
I was literally just about to say this, Jess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows how highly I've spoken about it to my mates that I've got one that's applied and joining in January, and another that's accepted and will be joining once he's graduated in the summer. So
And that's all off you saying you need to go and apply.
Yeah, they ask me how it's going, and I speak about it, and I think they're quite like surprised to hear me speak like that about work. So yeah, they go and apply.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, again, that's
amazing.
great reflection, Reese, and you guys as well. Obviously doing a great job, and
Yeah.
we've got a lovely team, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It shows that you really must enjoy it, and it obviously comes across really genuinely when you're talking to your friends that obviously know you really well, that and they've thought, oh, I want to go there as well. So that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So Joe, let's talk about your call with the director, and how you kind of felt going into that, because I just know that if that was me, I would be so nervous going into a call when someone says, oh, it's one of the directors or somebody quite high up in the business. So tell us about kind of your experience there.
Yeah, I mean, when I received the email, I was extremely nervous because, like you say, it was one of the directors of the business. However, like when I actually got into the call with Tim, it's so strange how quickly he makes you feel at ease. Like I think I got in there and he went, "How are you, mate?" And it just completely like set the tone for the interview. It was casual. He asked me a few questions, and like Reece and Mallory, like I think mine lasted about 7 minutes, and then he went, "Nice one." And then about a day later, I got a final round interview offer. It's like Mallory said, a sort of a joke. It's literally just a vibe check, and it's strange to me, having like interviewed for different companies, how different it was and how easy it is, I think, which makes it really nice as someone who is actually interviewing for the company, because it allows you to express yourself freely rather than sort of trying to get the perfect answer, if you know what I mean.
And that's obviously what, what Reese and the team want it to be, for you to be yourself and for you to be able to get your personality across. Being nervous at the start, but obviously they know that you're going to be nervous, but they kind of know to put you at ease, and that obviously works. And yeah, I like the fact that it's really just, they're just trying to see whether you are that kind of right fit at that stage before, coming back to kind of the final interview. So Lucy, tell us all about that. Tell us about the in-person interview and kind of what was involved in that.
Yeah, so like Reece said, that's an hour long roughly in Stowmarket, so in our office. You do a 15-20 minute like logic test at the start. That's just like typical. I don't know if this, hopefully this like resonates with people, but they're like 1% club questions, if anyone knows what that is.
Yeah.
Like those sorts of like, not, super hard, but just almost just a bit like, not to catch you out, but just, see if you get it kind of on the day and stuff. I found them quite enjoyable, to be totally honest with you. But, so you have an hour long interview with Reece, a member of support. So could be me, could be Joe, could be anyone else on support, and then someone else that's done a few more interviews that, has been at the company maybe a bit longer, etc. And to be honest, it's very similar to the 5 minute chat in the sense of they want to get to know you as opposed to a typical like Q&A interview of like wanting you to say, oh, I really love, I really want to work in software because I just love it and this, that, and the other. Like, obviously they want to hear you say that as well, don't get me wrong. But it's about your personality, not if you can give a perfect answer in an interview in an hour on a random Tuesday. Like it's so much more important to them for you to get your personality across and for them to see how well you'd fit in with the company. Like kind of Reece said, he looks for people that communicate well and people that would just get on, as opposed to who can sit in front of him for an hour and recite questions and answers that they've practiced, that they've Googled 10 minutes before. So
Yeah,
it is, you feel nervous, don't get me wrong, because it's an interview, but you feel relaxed when you're in there because they ultimately just want to know about you and about your experience, whether it's academic or work experience or whatever.
Yeah, they're not there to trip you up, are they? They're there to
No.
get to know you. And that's definitely come across in everything that we've just kind of run through with all of your experiences, is that Halo are really trying to get to know you and how you would fit in the organization. And yeah, I think that's really come through in everything that you've said there. So thank you all so much for giving us such kind of a nice overview of that recruitment process, and hopefully put a lot of people at ease that might be about to go through that. And we're going to finish with kind of a final quick fire round. This was actually submitted by Yusuf at Greenwich University, who wanted to know what your favourite thing about working at Halo is. So Reece, I'm going to start with you.
The autonomy. It feels like I run my own business. The feeling of like coming into work is the equivalent of me feeling like I'm like going out to play football or like rugby or American football. Like I'm big into sports and stuff like that. I've always played throughout my life. Like it's the equivalent feeling of doing that because it feels like a hobby, and because I've got the autonomy to run the graduate scheme in whatever way I believe to be best. It does feel like I'm running my own business, where I'm almost like my business is to shape people for Halo as a business. So I almost feel as though I'm like a experienced recruiter at that point to a certain extent, which sounds great, crazy, but the last thing we'd ever want from anyone here, and something I'm really like happy about myself, is that I never sit there on a Sunday and go, oh, I've got to go to work Monday. Like I'm on holiday and I'm coming back and going, oh God, I'm looking forward to getting and seeing the team. It's been a while, like stuff along those lines. And yeah, without me rambling any further, it's the autonomy for sure.
Amazing. Thank you, Reece. Mallory, over to you.
Yeah, I think the opportunity is pure meritocracy. So if you do well, you'll be trusted to do more and more. Example, Reece has been in like 4 years, I think, and has hired over half the business. People who've been there a similar time, less, flying out to Austria every few months to help implement Red Bull. It's just crazy. I don't think I've ever seen anything else like it in my experience. So yeah, I'd say that.
Thank you, Mallory. Lucy, over to you.
I think a kind of what I've said before, just you don't feel new. You don't feel like you've got a boss, and you don't feel like everyone's like going to avoid you because you've only just started. You feel part of the family straight away, and you do feel supported, which you don't realize is such a good feeling for when you've got work on a Monday morning. Like you don't dread it because you know that there's always people around you that are going to help you.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, finally.
I think my favorite thing is probably the pardon me, the diverse array of different people you get to work with. Finally got my words out there. Yeah, there's just so many different people you get to work with, and it's really interesting. Obviously, learn about all these people, and you're helping them with everything to do with their business and their daily running. It's it's a fantastic feeling, really, really rewarding once you start actually getting into the team.
Amazing. And that's great to hear after only a couple of months, and you've got so many different areas that you can go and work in as well after this. So thank you so much, everybody. It's been brilliant hearing all about your experiences and about the graduate scheme. Yeah, really, really great speaking with you all. So the recording of this webinar will be available for everybody to watch in full tomorrow on the Halo Gradcracker Company Hub. We'll also then break this up into bite-sized highlights covering some of the key topics that we've discussed today. And remember, our employers absolutely love it when you tell them you've watched their webinar, as they know that means you'll already have a really good understanding of their company, and it shows you have a real interest in working for them, which we know is a really important thing for Halo. So make sure you go and get your applications in for them and let them know that you are here. On Thursday, Jess and Carla will be back talking to the RAF, so make sure you register for that event. But once again, thank you everyone for watching, and a big thanks to our lovely panel from Halo. See you all later. Bye-bye.
Guys, bye-bye.